Viktor Frankl is a Holocaust survivor and psychologist who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. It's a foundational book, and I think it's important to read for anyone who wants to live a more fulfilling life. I'm going to talk about the key messages from this book and how it can improve your life. So the book is split into two sections. Part 1 are his experiences from being in the concentration camps. He talks in detail about the cruelty and agony that people went through. Just listening to that gave me this burst of gratitude for my own life. And he talks about how the people that were there somehow managed to still remain strong, right? And it made me realize that even if you hit this rock bottom point in your life, you can still persevere and adapt and overcome that. Part 2 is where the real magic is for me. He talks about his specific psychological school of thought that he developed whilst in the concentration camps called Logotherapy. Logos is the Greek word for meaning. So logotherapy is a type of psychology that focuses on meaning in your life. So it's often thought that the main drivers behind human behaviour are pursuing pleasure or avoiding pain. But what Viktor Frankl says is actually trying to find meaning in your life is the primary motivational force in humans. Because we will avoid pleasure or experience pain if there's a meaning behind that for us. So he's not saying that you have to suffer to find a meaning, but what he is saying is that meaning is possible in suffering that you can't avoid. So he drops this quote from Nietzsche that's relevant. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. So suffering stops being suffering the moment it finds meaning. And this is relevant today because many humans are trapped in something he calls the existential vacuum. So the existential vacuum is a state that humans get into when they switch between being bored and being depressed, aggressive, or addicted to something. This has happened because back in caveman times, humans didn't need to think about what to do because our actions were guided by animal instincts for survival. As society developed, we grew out of these animal instincts and now had to make choices about our behaviour. So cultures and traditions developed which helped humans decide what to do. Their behaviour was guided by local traditions. But today, we're globally connected and these local traditions are diminishing. So we're left in a state where sometimes there's no instinct or no tradition that can decide for you what to do. And in our free time is where this existential vacuum comes in, and people become aware of the lack of meaning in their life, and they might not be consciously aware of it, but because of this lack of meaning, the existential vacuum opens and can manifest itself as the neurotic triad: depression, aggression, and addiction. So logotherapy is a way where you can gain more meaning in your life to remove this existential vacuum. So how do you do this? Right, this is where he talks about the meaning of life. So he says that the general meaning of life does not matter. Rather, it's the specific meaning of a person's life at any given moment is what matters. The example he gives is that it's like asking what is the best chess move in the world. The best chess move in the world doesn't exist. There is no one single best chess move. The best move is determined by your current situation in the game. So it's not the general meaning of life that matters, but the specific meaning in your current situation. So there's 3 ways he says you can discover this specific meaning. The first is by creating something, because the process of creating something will pull out of you what you find meaningful. The second is by experiencing something. So for example, goodness, truth, beauty, nature, culture, which can help you understand what you value. And the third way is by the attitude that you take towards unavoidable suffering. And this is where he drops one of his most powerful quotes, where he says, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. So this third one is a mental habit that I've been trying to train for when something happens that isn't what I wanted. So for example, if you invested in crypto but the market crashed, it can be depressing. So how do you add meaning to that? So one way is, instead of just seeing it as a way to make money, think of it as being part of a global movement to help increase economic freedom and restructure society to help reduce manipulation from centralized power to ultimately improve people's lives. And the next time you're thinking of buying a certain crypto, think about if it aligns with this ideal or if it's just another pump and dump. So reframing the situation can help turn your suffering into meaning.